evening, everyone. Hope that you're here and having a good night. Hope that game probably helped. I would certainly hope so. Um, for those of you that are new, welcome aboard. 100 people in here, all right? That's a good start. I like to see it. And I am going to get started. Now, a lot to talk about. I'm going to hit questions tomorrow night on the stream for the Q&A. So everybody come back tomorrow night, roughly the same time, 7 o'clock Arrowhead time. Tonight, I'm going to go through my notes and try to get everything out so you guys know everything that I saw or that I thought was important going away from this game. Tonight's beer, little home. This is the Kolsch left over from Thanksgiving. I hope you guys had a great holiday. Man, I had a blast. Tried to put out as much content as I could given the holiday. So appreciate you guys checking it out and listening to the podcast and all that. It was a pretty good weekend for that. So very much appreciated. Big thing that I think the totality of this game brings away, and that is that the team finally put somebody away with some authority. Didn't allow them to creep back in. Yeah, I know there was that play at the end. I personally didn't see it because I was getting ready to jump on the podcast. That will be up here within the hour for you guys. So just check that out too. So I didn't see that play live. I'll go back and check it out. But even with that play, it still was the fact that they were in that point. They didn't let them back into the ball game. You saw a lot of stuff there at the end that I know you guys are going to want to talk about. I'll give you my thoughts on that as well. Hey, Aaron. Hey, guys. Hey, Casey Fire. Glad you guys all are doing well. I'm having a great night, so thanks for all saying hi. We'll do questions and answers tomorrow night. I'm going to go through my notes tonight. That said, I think you got better coaching tonight as well. And I think amongst all of this, that kind of hangs over the top of it. So let's give the coaches some credit too. So I'm just going to start from the top. Quarter one, I was disappointed they came out and started in nickel. I thought that was just a misrepresentation of what you should expect to see. Third play of the game, they were having some trouble. They put Reggie in. They get a stop against Jacobs. Jacobs ended up having a good night, but not like he could have. Not like we've seen other premier backs have against this Chiefs defense. So all in all, I feel like they took a fairly good step forward. I think he averaged, it was just over 6 yards a carry, which is a lot. In terms of total game output, they did well. They limited him. He was the bulk of their offense. I think you saw that. Although I think what you're going to see is I think Darren Waller is going to be a force going forward. We'll talk about him in the coming weeks and definitely over the offseason because he is something I think the Chiefs have to plan for. I don't think they had a good answer for him or honestly any of the tight ends from the Raiders today. So hey, that's good. Hey, see a lot of friendly faces. How are you guys? Hope you guys are having a good night. Happy Thanksgiving to you all as well. As they went on, concerned about Kelsey's drops. A couple in the first quarter. He had that one in the third. He got hurt. I do feel like that one catch that the defender wrapped him up and he did land on his hip. I felt like that was the thing that caused the injury most likely. But after that, he didn't look to have the same acceleration. He didn't look to have the same cuts. And I think it definitely took some of his performance out of that game. That's something that we got to watch going forward. That's going to be an issue, especially next week, because he's somebody that I think the Chiefs can use to attack the Patriots pretty successfully. So, going through, Darryl had a great catch for that touchdown. Really nice play on his part. I think Darryl in particular is more dependent on the blocking in order to make yards, particularly between the tackles. And that's what we're not seeing. If you guys were following me on Twitter during the game, Wisniewski needs to be in there. He needs to be the center right now, today. And they even showed it that they have him studying on the sidelines. I don't know if that means that it's an imminent change. Like I certainly he didn't play this week, even though he was doing that, checking out all 22 shots so he could see what was going on, what Ryder was dealing with. Ryder got destroyed on that 4th and 1. He's the reason they didn't get that. You can't blame the back. When you have a guy in your face 3 yards deep in the backfield, that's not on the running back. So that is a problem. They have to get that sorted out, and they have to be able to get short yardage yards. That's a serious problem with this team right now. Something that I don't know if they're going to have a good chance of fixing or not. They certainly have to go a long way to do that. I think Wiz is part of the answer, but that's not all of it. Going through, I said again in the second quarter needed Wiz. Ward, a lot of folks really high on Ward, and I thought he did some good stuff. They showed some of the all-22 looks on the broadcast tonight. So when you guys, so that you guys know, I look through all those when I'm doing the film reviews to get an idea of what's going on where. And they did show that the Chiefs were doing a pretty good job covering where Carr didn't have somewhere to go. And that is a credit to the DBs and Ward included. But when Ward gives up plays, it's because he's not doing his job. That completion to Waller, he could have turned around and taken that. That was not a high ball. It was within his grasp. If he had gotten his head around, that could have been a pick for Ward. It's not what Ward isn't. It's not that Ward is playing badly or isn't doing his job. It's that there's so much lost opportunity that is there that he's not taking advantage of. That's my big thing with Ward. And that's why I still feel he's a CB2. And don't let this game fool you. The Raiders passing offense is not good. This group is not good. Tyrell Williams was not targeted but like 3 times, I think. He's the best they got. So the fact that the DBs, even Fuller back from what had been a while, he got some playing time tonight. The fact that they were able to cover them very well for a long time in downs, that's great. But that's almost as much due to the poor talent on the Raiders passing receiving group than it is the DBs. So just don't let that put you in a false sense of security. But they did mirror well. They made plays when they had to, had a couple of PBUs. Clearly, I gave my game ball on the podcast this week to Dave Merritt because his safeties did their job. I mean, man, Tyrann Mathieu is hitting his stride. Back-to-back weeks where he comes up with a pick. He's in position. He's not getting beat in the run game as much as we saw earlier in the season. I personally feel that it's because of Juan Thornhill, and I feel like Juan Thornhill is raising his game, and that lets Tyrann concentrate on his. That robber thing that they do with him, whether it's in the middle of the field or they creep into one side of the line of scrimmage, that's what he's built for. That's his jam, man. And the more that they can have Tyrann Mathieu working off the line of scrimmage, not necessarily assigned to a receiver, particularly a tight end, although he does play well against tight ends, that's a plus for the Chiefs. So anytime they can do that, that's great. I think that's what you're seeing. And I think he's able to concentrate, be more instinctual in his playmaking because he knows I think he has more faith in Juan Thornhill at this point in the season than maybe he did earlier because the kid's a rookie. You know, it takes some time. It takes games playing together. And we're 13 games into the season now. Or 12 games anyway. That's a significant thing. And that allows Tyrann to be Tyrann. So it's a full team kind of effort. I do feel like Spags is starting to slide more towards what they're best at. And I do feel that that's going to be something going forward. So I just want to say, if you guys want to support the channel, go ahead. The super chats are open, not a problem. I really appreciate that. And I'm going to have some new things for you. I got some new shirts coming up. One of them will be turn a phrase tonight off of that Juan Thornhill interception because, man, he looked exactly like what I saw on film in Virginia. And if you guys remember, he was the number 1 in my athletic matrix analytics for the draft this last season. And he really showed it because not only did he make a nice break on the ball there, he had done his study clearly, but after he made that break and got his hands on it, the acceleration he had to the pylon was great. I mean, and I said it on the pod, he's no Cole Hardman, but he can accelerate and he looked really good doing it. So I am calling him Holy Juan Kenobi at this point. Big Star Wars fan. Sorry, Star Wars geek. So I'm going to tie those things together. I'll put it on a shirt and you guys can do that. And that'll support the channel too. So I appreciate that. Not only did those two do their jobs in making plays, but their overall play allows the corners to be more aggressive, which helps Ward in particular, but Breland some as well, and lets them disrupt routes. And I think that covers the whole secondary. When those safeties play well, they're helping everyone. And then when the whole secondary is playing well, it makes the quarterback hold the ball. And that helps Chris and Frank and the rest of the front. Tano Passanio had a nice game tonight, not just the sack. He's constantly getting some pressure. He's quicker than he looks for a guy that's 6'7", and he's taking advantage of that. I see a lot of guys commenting about Ragland. He wasn't all world. He did give up a few plays, but he was very, very good. He was the best run linebacker they had tonight. And he actually made a couple of plays in the pass game. Maybe not, Plays that he probably could have saved a couple extra yards if it was Hitch in that position or something like that, but he didn't get destroyed. He wasn't a liability, and I think that's what's key. You can afford to have him on the field more, and that's what helps. That also helps K-Pass because they had Reggie lining up in the B gap quite a bit, bringing some pressure or dropping out, and that helps Tano. And I think the two of them together as two young guys that are about the same age, that are starting to build on it, I think it's going to be great, and that really helps balance against Frank. I'm concerned about Frank, to tell you this. If that neck injury is a recurrence of the pinched nerve, Frank's going to have a hard time performing. We saw what it did to him early, right? That's a problem. You got to have Frank Clark back. And unfortunately, it's not a soft tissue thing. It's not a pain management thing. You can't give him cortisone and ask him to go play. That's not an option. When you hurt or pinch the nerve, you literally can't grip. It sucks all your strength out of your whole side of your body. A lot of times they're low in the neck, and that is the main thing that runs to your deltoids all the way down your traps. It really affects how well you can use that side of your upper body in order to play. And so it's not going to be a gutted out kind of thing. You can't lay it on the effort of the player. So it's really going to be tough. Oh, I like that one too, Owen. Juan Solo. Okay, maybe I'll make a couple of shirts. I got a couple new logos coming for you guys too that are based on this team that I can't use people's names as a logo, but you'll see. Going to be some cool stuff. Anyway, so Frank's clearly somebody that they have to be worried about. I love Darryl. Darryl's not the loss that Frank is if the injuries are serious, but I'm really crossing my fingers for Darryl right now because Darryl does the dirty work inside. He's great out of the backfield. I mean, yes, Shady caught that touchdown and got in, but you've seen Darryl can accelerate. You saw that one long run and you saw one really nice catch. Darryl can play this game, and to have a no contact, uncomplicated injury like that, it's really scary for a player that I pull for personally. I hope that it's a hamstring. That's what they reported in game, and I don't know if that's accurate. We'll see what that injury report comes back with. Coach Reed's on the podium now, so or just finished. So hopefully we'll have a report from that, and I'll have the full report tomorrow from Matt. Derek, make sure you check out Locked On Chiefs because we'll have Matt. That's going to be significant. If it's just a hamstring, that's soft tissue work. He can be back by playoffs, if not earlier. Nobody's Tyreek Hill, and Tyreek Hill looked great tonight. So clearly that's not hindering him, his hamstring. Maybe resting and pulling him out of the Chargers game was a good thing because he's ready for the Patriots. But you can't put that same timeline on Darryl if that is the hamstring. I was worried about a hyperextension. Or even worse, an ACL, because a lot of times those non-contacts are ligament tears that are just sheer forces. It's just angular momentum that shears them off. It's really different. So keep your fingers crossed for him. And then we saw Fenton go out as well, and Fenton made that fumble hit. That was great. We saw him make the interception against the Chargers. He's been playing well of late. That's an injury too. They got Fuller back. They lost Fenton. Hopefully Fenton's isn't serious. I haven't seen any report on what his might be yet. So we're going to cross our fingers there. They really got to get a full complement back. Man, this is going to be a tough game. And I'm going to do the film room. I'm going to look at the film, but man, we're going to turn our sides to the Patriots pretty quick because the Ravens didn't lose today, which I thought they were going to. Watching that game, I really felt like the Niners had it in them, but it didn't get done. So it is what it is. So you got to take the ball in your own hands, and if you can beat the Patriots, man, that's a huge step towards the postseason and a slot in the AFC Championship, and definitely a look at the Super Bowl. So I'm totally there for that, and I will try not to move on too fast. I want to give you guys the goods on this particular game. Guys that I thought played well, I thought Fisher looked good, markedly better than he did against the Chargers. It looked like he was more solid. I think that first game was rust, and I feel like that's what they did with Okafor tonight. But I watched Eric a couple of times, and it looked like when he's bum rushed and he had the core strength. When you have that core injury, that's a real tough thing. Is when you get bull rushed and you kind of get bent back. That's core that brings you back down. It's all abs. and lower body control. And it looked like he could recover better than he did against the Chargers. So I'm feeling optimistic about that. I don't want to talk about negatives, so I'm going to leave the rest of the line out. Even LDT had problems tonight, so I'm not huge on that. On the defensive side, I thought Noddy was solid but unspectacular. I think Saunders made a couple of plays. You saw Pennell make a couple of plays. They did what I told them to do, what I told you guys last week in some of the videos. Noddy's going to be a stalwart, so he's always going to be in there. But Saunders, Pennell, and Ragland, they got to play if you want to stop the run or limit the run in this case. You're going to have to do that next week against Sony Michel as well. So they have to do that same thing and be able to swap them out. And that's what Spags is really concerned about being caught in the base when it's clearly something where they have mismatches in the pass game. So they're going to guard against that, and that's okay as long as they can make those switches in and out pretty quickly. And I thought they did a very good job with that aspect, switching personnel out tonight. I thought that rolled pretty well. Yeah, I'll get to it. You guys are right on it. There's a ton to talk about with Darwin. This is the first time that I felt Darwin was close. But I have a caveat for you, too. I thought LaShawn looked okay. It looked like they were kind of limiting contact for him, limiting touches, just to make sure that he's available for next week and beyond. Don't know about Damian. I'm not concerned about Damian right now. And Jeremy, you're absolutely right. That's exactly where I was going. Watkins got 3 targets, didn't make a catch. Mahomes was not his normal accurate self tonight, so there's a little bit left on the bone there. But they didn't target Hardman. And I didn't feel like the Raiders took him away. I got to look at what the safeties were doing and see the all-22 before I know for sure. But I felt like that wasn't like he wasn't a focus of the game plan in particular. And maybe they didn't feel like they had to be. Maybe they're saving him a little bit. That could be some trickery from Andy. And more power to him. If that works, that works. That's great. Let's see. Darwin came in early and blew a pass protection. I think that's a problem. And that's why you might not see him early in games. But in this mop-up duty, when they were just handing him the ball and letting him do what he does, what he's instinctually good at, running the ball, squeezing through tighter spaces, I think the reason you saw him excel, because there were some backups in from the Raiders at that time, but not all of them, and not a ton in the front seven. I think the difference is that Darwin Thompson's stature allows him to not need as big a hole, particularly as Darryl, but even as Shady. So he can squeeze into smaller gaps. It requires linemen not to hold their blocks as long, which helps this particular line because they can't hold their blocks very long. So I think that all helps. I mean, honestly, if it were up to me, you finally saw them do what I've been screaming about them to do in that pitch that they scored on to Shady. And that helps because your 2 best run blockers are your tackles. Schwartz and Fisher, I don't have any problem with them in the run game. And I don't mean to disparage the whole offensive line because while they each had a play or 2 that they missed, Schwartz and Fisher are good in the run game. It's the interior 3 that miss some things. Wiley and Reeder in particular got blown up at different times. That's why the run game doesn't work. But you can make up for that by either running counter or running pitches or running jet sweep, and all those things work. And I think that's what Darwin showed you that he can do because he ran some counters. He snuck into some holes inside that allowed himself the space to get there. And I thought he looked really, really encouraging for me. The best part about what Darwin Thompson did tonight is that he almost sought contact. He certainly didn't shy away from it. He picked his hole and he weaved when he had to until he hit the line of scrimmage, and then he went downhill, whatever direction he was going. And he wasn't afraid of contact. He didn't shy away from it, and that's good. There was one hit that sounded really good on the broadcast, and I can only imagine what the rest were, but that's a really positive sign for a young player that's, small in size as well, to hit that kind of stuff, come up running. I'm glad to see him score. I think he's going to be a very good back soon. In case you know, he's not. He's definitely not. This is a one-time thing in mop-up duty. That's not the same thing as being a starting running back. But he will be. A year from now, Darwin Thompson is probably going to be your best back. Now he's going to need help, especially guys that are that small need help in a bigger back. So there's a scenario where Daniel Williams isn't here next year. There's a scenario where LaShawn isn't here next year. And that your top 2 are Darwin and Darryl. And I'm okay with that. They're going to backfill. They got Elijah on the practice squad now. So, he can be what he needs to. But he's got to develop. He's got to continue. He's got to get better in pass pro. Thompson is not ready to protect Mahomes yet. That's a big problem. And that's why you're not going to see him as a starter until he gets to that point. That's why Daryl's in there, even sometimes over Shady and Damian, because Daryl can pass protect. You saw him kick the snot out of Max Crosby at one play, not going at the knees either, engaging him in upper body, and that's what Daryl brings to the table. You got to have a guy like that. So don't worry about when Darwin becomes a starter. He will get there. And I think he showed you a lot of what he will bring to the table at this point. And honestly, when he's able to pass protect too, it's going to be even better. But I think what you are going to see is when either they have to run out a game like this or they're looking for a spark. And he showed them something now, right? So when they're looking for a spark, they might throw him in there just to see if they can get something going. Again, because he plays to the deficiencies of the interior offensive line by not having to have those long-held blocks in order to create some yardage. And so if you find yourself in a position where you need to grind something out, honestly, run him off tackle in the short yardage situation. Don't put Mahomes. A lot of people on Twitter were yelling at me, hey, you got to play Mahomes. You got to let him take that 4th and 1. No, that's how he got hurt. He should never run a 4th and 1 ever again, period. As far as I'm concerned, no sneaks. But let Darwin hit off tackle. Let him hit the B gap. I really, really like that. And I think Darwin's going to be pretty good at that. That's going to be, I think that's going to be his signature, even more so than catching out of the backfield, which I think he's going to become very good at as well, because I really like what he did on film in college catching the ball. So I really see that he's going to have a big position going forward. That doesn't mean they won't take another back in the draft late on day 3. Don't be worried about that. He'll still get there. What else? They definitely need another tight end. Travis didn't look 100%. If Travis is actually hurt and has to miss a game, Blake Bell ain't enough. Yelder was hurt tonight. They need to draft somebody else as a tight end too. Travis is 30 now, so we got to remember that too, you know? So keep an eye out for that. This coming week, we'll see how Travis is. That's going to be a critical thing. Otherwise, I think what you're going to see, if they don't have Travis Kelce, I think you're going to see them go big time in the spread and try to make the Patriots keep up with everyone. It's going to be a track meet. And I think you're going to see more of Mecole and Tyreek on the same side of a 4 or 5 wide receiver formation if you don't have Travis Kelce. Because you saw how when things go wrong, that's who Pat looks for. As much as he's into Tyreek and they have that connection, it's serious about when he's pressured, his eyes go to 87, and that's just the way that it works. There's instincts there, and you can't really overpower those. So if he's out for any reason, or if he's even not 100%, you're going to see the offense shift a little bit. And I think in terms of the running back, I think that again comes back to Shady and Daryl. Damian if he's back, Daryl if he's back. If not, it's going to be challenging because then you might see Darwin Thompson more. If they're trying to go 5 wide, which means taking one of the running backs and splitting him out, I think that is perfectly fine. I think you can use Darwin that way because you're not relying on him to do any pass blocking, especially if you run some under routes with him coming in on low crossers. I think that could really pay off. So there's some options there, but I think a lot of this week hinges on just how healthy Travis Kelce is going to be. We should have a report by tomorrow afternoon before we do the Q&A tomorrow night. So for all you guys, thanks for being here tonight. A lot of good, friendly faces. I like that. A lot of good questions that I don't have answers for. I got to watch the game again tonight before I have a little bit more. So come back tomorrow night, 7 o'clock. Arrowhead time. We'll be here doing this again, and we'll do all Q&A. I'll give you a couple of minutes, and then we'll just go for it. So enjoy this win. I think this was a big one, and it's a big step forward towards the Patriots this week. So we're going to see what happens. Hopefully the cold weather gives the Chiefs a break. I think that's part of what's been going on with them as well. So hit your questions tomorrow night. Appreciate y'all being here, and I'll talk to you tomorrow.